can I share? I was looking up this one quote, and maybe this is more from a creative perspective, but there's this book, Art and Fear, that has helped me a ton through insecurity around writing and insecurity around creating things. And the author has this one quote that says, it's not about what you have or don't have that someone else possesses, but rather that it just doesn't matter. Whatever they have is something that's needed to do their work. It wouldn't help you even if you had it. Their magic is theirs. You don't lack it. You don't need it. It just simply has nothing to do with you, period. And I think, like, from a creative vantage point, like, so many people, myself included, like, we struggle so much with that trap of comparison that leads to such deep insecurity, because we are constantly comparing our songs to someone else's, our ability to lead the same way someone else does, our ability to minister, exhort the same way someone else does. And that quote, with him just saying, like, even if you had it, what someone else did or what someone else possesses, it wouldn't even help you, because it's just not, like, it's not in you. Like, it's not meant for you. And what you have, no one else has that magic. No one else, like, has the thing you have to bring. And I know this has been preached so many times, and I feel like it's a core message of what you're bringing as well. But, like, that overcoming that insecurity, I think, has to start with the place of just believing so much in, like, what you do have to offer, and knowing, like, it has nothing to do with someone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, let's kind of chase this for a second, because you brought up insecurity, and I think a lot of people would see you do what you do, and you stand on stages sometimes in arenas full of people and be like, oh, Chris doesn't struggle with insecurity. He's confident, because I could never do what he's doing. But can you talk about some of the insecurities you've wrestled with, and, you know, even imposter syndrome sometimes, and how have you been able to push through those insecurities to do what God's asked you to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've had so many, and I've been on such a journey, and I think it's helped me through the years also realize, like, I haven't met I was going to say a successful creative person, but I haven't met a person who I admire their art, and I haven't read about a successful creative person who hasn't and doesn't struggle with this same thing, struggle with, like, not believing in their work, not believing in themselves. And maybe in a you know, backwards kind of way, it's been an interesting and sometimes very helpful starting place for me to know, like, okay, it's not just me. This is a very unfortunate part of human nature, that we all have to learn to manage. I don't know. I would like to say overcome, and I know by the blood of Jesus can overcome it, but also, like, it's just one of those things that that I still have to just keep a gauge on and manage, and learn how to manage it in different seasons, and it'll flare up. And, but I think I'm so well acquainted with my weaknesses and with the areas in my life where I'm lacking. And more often than not, it ultimately, just as it should, drives me to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think that's the idea. I think that's the whole purpose. It's not to stay focused on where I'm not strong, but on how good God is to me, how he's graced me with his strength for today. Mm-hmm. And I think also like that for today, I know he's my source and I will have my daily bread and what I need for today. And I wake up tomorrow in desperate need of the source all over again. But practically I've learned how to take my anxiety, and maybe in earlier seasons where I just squished it down and buried it, and then went to counseling and learned, okay, this is something I obviously need to process through, and not just let terror, just flare up so much and then I just squash it. But I need to learn how to deal with it. And I think like there's practical things like breathing that you and I've talked about, that I read maybe a year ago. Like even when I'm sleeping at night, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I got the craziest stuff on my mind, what's coming up, what I need to do. And read this article about like, you need to, one of the best things to go back to sleep and lower your heart rate is to breathe in 4 seconds, hold your breath 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds, hold your breath 4 seconds. And like, I started putting that into practice after I read that article. Like, and I actually sleep really good. I could go to sleep at 8:30 PM on any given night and be the happiest dude on the planet. But when I do wake up with just an anxious spirit and my mind's racing, there's practical things like that, that I've had to do.